It is 2:45 in the morning. The cold blue light of your screen is the only thing illuminating the room. You were looking at a spreadsheet. Or maybe you were just staring at the ceiling, replaying a casual conversation from 3 years ago, dissecting every word, looking for the exact moment you made the wrong move. You have a brilliant mind. Your colleagues know it. Your boss knows it. You were the person they call when a crisis hits. You can analyze a collapsing system, optimize a sinking project, and outsmart the room before your first cup of coffee. You are a highly paid, highly respected problem solver. So, why can't you solve the problem of your own quiet despair? Why does a silent Sunday afternoon alone in your beautiful house feel more terrifying than a hostile boardroom? Right now, as my voice plays in the dark, pay attention to your body. Notice the space between your eyebrows. You're frowning. Your jaw is locked so tight it aches. Your brain is already racing, trying to analyze my tone, trying to anticipate my argument, hoping I will give you a logical 5-step formula to fix your life. I will not. Drop your shoulders. Unclench your teeth. Take a breath. Stop trying to outsmart your own suffering. Society promised that your high IQ was the ultimate key to a good life. But for people like us, that intellect has become a curse. It is no longer a tool for discovery. It is a heavily armed, highly sophisticated defense mechanism. A mental fortress you built to avoid feeling the messy, chaotic emotions hiding in your shadow. Tonight, we are going to dismantle that fortress. We are going to look at why your relentless overthinking is not a sign of genius. It is a sign of profound trauma. And why using logic to cure a wounded soul is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Think about the last time you felt truly shattered. A divorce, a career failure, a diagnosis you did not see coming. What did you do? If you were like most highly intelligent people, you did not cry. You researched. You went on a podcast binge about the psychology of breakups. You bought 6 books on coping with career transitions. You built a comprehensive, bulletproof plan to optimize your recovery. You turned your pain into a project. Carl Jung had a word for this. He called it intellectualizing. It is the ultimate trick of a brilliant mind. When a feeling is too messy, too humiliating, or too raw to actually feel, your brain steps in like a ruthless manager. It says, do not feel the sadness, analyze the sadness. Categorize it, label it. Turn the monster into a data point. Because data cannot hurt you. Data can be controlled. We use our intellect to build a sterile, fluorescent-lit laboratory in our heads, and we trap the dark, unpredictable parts of our human experience inside a glass box. We look at our own trauma through a microscope, pretending we are the scientist, when in reality, we're the terrified animal in the cage. We call it being rational. Jung called it starving the shadow. The shadow is not just your dark thoughts. It is the seat of your raw, unfiltered, primitive emotions. It is the part of you that wants to scream in the grocery store, the part that wants to fall to your knees and weep in the middle of a Tuesday. But you're a professional. You have a mortgage. You have an image to uphold. So you shove that wild, grieving creature into the basement. You lock the door, and you stand guard by thinking. You think about the economy. You think about your retirement portfolio. You think about the email you need to send at 8 in the morning. As long as you are thinking, you do not have to feel the heavy, suffocating weight sitting on your chest. Your constant overanalyzing is not a sign of a superior intellect. It's a noise machine. You crank up the volume of your logic just to drown out the sobbing in the basement. Pause for a second. Are your shoulders creeping up again? Are you holding your breath? Let it go. Your brilliant mind has protected you for decades. It is the reason you survived. But here's the brutal truth about midlife. The defense mechanism that saved you in your 20s is the exact thing destroying you in your 40s. Because you cannot selectively numb your feelings. When you use logic to numb the pain, you also numb the joy. You numb the connection. You numb the very sensation of being alive. But what happens when the laboratory glass breaks? What happens when the mind finally collapses under the weight of an emotion it cannot calculate?
What if I told you that the very thing you are proudest of is the cage keeping you trapped? Your intellect. You have spent your entire life believing that if you just think hard enough, you can solve any problem. But here is the glitch in your system. You cannot think your way out of a feeling problem. It's like trying to use a hammer to turn a screw. The tool is magnificent, but it is the wrong tool for the job. When you encounter a dark emotion, a wave of grief, a sudden spike of midlife emptiness, your brain treats it like a software bug, an error code that needs to be debugged. You try to find the root cause. You analyze your childhood. You map out a spreadsheet of pros and cons for your marriage. You think, if I can just understand why I am sad, the sadness will go away. But the universe does not work that way. Your pain is not a bug in the code. It is a feature of the human experience. It is supposed to be there. It is the earth calling you back down from the sterile clouds of your intellect. The mind is a brilliant servant, but it is a tyrant of a master. When you let the mind rule your emotions, it builds a dictatorship of logic. It tells you that your tears are inefficient. It tells you that your burnout is a sign of weakness that needs to be optimized. Stop for a moment. Listen to the silence in your room. Notice how much noise is still echoing inside your skull. That noise is your ego, desperately trying to keep control. Because to the ego, mystery is terrifying. Not knowing the answer is a threat to your survival. So it keeps you running on a mental treadmill, exhausting you, just to give you the illusion of progress. But you are not moving forward. You are just digging a deeper hole with a very sharp shovel. To find the peace you are looking for, you have to do the one thing that terrifies a smart person more than anything else. You have to drop the shovel. You have to surrender the need to understand. But how do you actually do that when your brain has been running the show for 40 years? Let me tell you about someone who had to learn this the hard way.
Let me tell you about Sarah. 42 years old, a partner at a top law firm in Chicago. She had a mind like a steel trap. She could dissect a contract in 3 minutes and spot a loophole that no one else saw. Her life was a series of perfectly executed strategies. Until the day her husband left. He did not leave because of an affair. He left because, in his words, living with her was like living with a chess computer. Sarah did not cry when he walked out the door. She went straight to her office. She opened a new file on her laptop. She titled it The Divorce Protocol. She read 50 books on grief. She made a spreadsheet of her emotional triggers. She scheduled 20-minute crying sessions on her Google Calendar between client calls. She was determined to win at heartbreak. She thought she could optimize her pain. 6 months later, Sarah was standing in her kitchen at 3 a.m, holding a glass of water, and her hand started shaking. Not a little tremor, a violent, uncontrollable shaking. The glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the tile floor. And in that moment, staring at the broken glass, something inside her finally snapped. She dropped to her knees, and for the first time in 20 years, she did not think. She wailed. A raw, ugly animal sound that came from the bottom of her gut. It was not rational. It was not strategic. It was not on the schedule. It was just real. That night, on her kitchen floor, surrounded by shards of glass, Sarah learned the most important lesson of her life. You cannot solve your humanity. You can only survive it. Her intellect had built a dam to hold back the ocean of her grief, but the dam had to break for the water to flow. And when the water flows, it cleanses. If you are listening to this and you are holding back a tsunami behind your eyes, please hear me. It is okay to break. It is okay to be messy. Your intelligence is a gift, but your vulnerability is your oxygen. Stop holding your breath. The world will not end if you let yourself feel. In fact, it might be the only way your world can truly begin again. But how do you practice this without completely falling apart in a boardroom meeting? How do you turn off the analysis paralysis without losing your edge? You do not need to move to a monastery. You do not need to quit your job. You just need to learn how to step out of your head and into your body. Here is the protocol. It is called the 90-second rule. Neuroscience tells us that a chemical emotion, like anger or fear, only lasts in the body for about 90 seconds. Everything after that is you rethinking it, replaying it, fueling the fire with your intellect. So tomorrow, when the anxiety hits, when your boss sends that email or your spouse says that one thing that triggers you, do not analyze it. Do not try to solve it. Just feel it. Set a timer on your watch if you have to. For 90 seconds, let your heart race. Let your hands shake. Let the heat rise in your chest. Observe it like a scientist watching a storm. Do not judge the storm. Do not try to stop the rain. Just let it pass through you. And when the timer goes off, take a deep breath and ask yourself what is actually happening right now. Not in your head, in the room. Look at your hands. Feel your feet on the floor. Listen to the hum of the refrigerator. This is called grounding. It is the only way to short-circuit the overthinking loop. Your mind wants to live in the future, predicting catastrophes that have not happened yet, but your body always lives in the present. When you bring your awareness down from your head into your physical sensation, you cut the fuel line to the anxiety machine. You stop being a brain in a jar, and you start being a human being again. This is not weakness. This is the ultimate form of control. To stand in the middle of a chaos storm and choose to be still. But I know what you're thinking. If I stop analyzing, if I stop controlling every variable, will my life fall apart? Will I lose my edge? Or will I finally find the one thing I've been chasing all along? So, here we are, standing in the rubble of your logic. I know your brain is already trying to rebuild the walls. It is trying to create a 10-point plan to stop overthinking. That is the irony of the brilliant mind. It tries to solve the problem of thinking with more thinking. But tonight, I am asking you to do something radical. I am asking you to fire the manager in your head. Just for tonight. Give yourself permission to not know the answer. Give yourself permission to be a mystery to yourself. You have spent decades building a fortress of intelligence to keep yourself safe. But safety is not the same thing as being alive. The fortress has become a prison, and the door is unlocked. You just have to walk out. If you are brave enough to lower your weapon and surrender the need to be the smartest person in the room, I want you to leave a mark in the comments below. Type the words, "I surrender." It is not a sign of defeat. It is a declaration of peace. I will read every single one, and I will know that tonight there is one less person at war with themselves. But be warned, even if you stop the overthinking, there is another trap waiting for you, a trap that is even more seductive to the high-functioning mind. You have let go of the thoughts, but can you let go of the outcome? Why are you so terrified of what happens next if you do not orchestrate every single variable? We call it planning, but the universe calls it an illusion. If you want to know why your need to manage the future is the real source of your suffering, click the video on your screen right now. It is called The Illusion of Control, and it is the only way out of this maze. Good night. And remember, you are not a problem to be solved.